The following broadcast is a lost episode of All Systems Go from 2004. Viewer discretion is advised.
This week, we're predicting the future.
And definitely not reminiscing on the past. All Systems Go starts right now.
Now loading All Systems Go.
And welcome back to All Systems Go, the only show that celebrates the American idiots.
And gives 3 cheers for sweet revenge.
I'm Jiggy Jenica.
And I'm Sweet Sammy. Let's get started. Attention gamers, the Nintendo DS just received a massive leak on the interwebs. The Nintendo DS will be a handheld successor to the Game Boy, with access to a touchscreen input, wireless LAN, and 3D graphics systems. The 3DS graphics system will be able to draw 120,000 polys per second, representing a fill rate of 30 million pixels per second. This is why I love Nintendo so much. They treat their fans so well and provide epic systems that seem to never go out of date. I can't wait to get myself on one of the new DSs when they come out.
Get ready to say Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie is coming out soon. The movie picks up after the conclusion of the Battle City tournament, where an ancient evil has awakened deep below the sands of Egypt. After being defeated by Yugi's mysterious alter ego centuries before, Anubis has returned for revenge. Using the power of the 8th Millennium item, Anubis is determined to take over the world and destroy Yugi in the process. To get everybody amped for this new flick, Burger King will be including toys of 20 of the most popular monsters from the series in their kids' meals, which I think is a really good marketing decision that will be remembered for years to come. Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie will be hitting theaters across the nation on August 13th.
Hello, my anime fans in the audience. If you love Studio Ghibli, then you're gonna love this news. My Neighbor Totoro, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and Porco Rosso will all be available for the first time on a 2-disc DVD that comes out on August 31st. These 3 movies will all receive an English voice cast. Some of the announced casts so far have been Dakota Fanning and Elle Fanning for My Neighbor Totoro, Patrick Stewart and Alison Lohman for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and Michael Keaton and Susan Egan for Porco Rosso. I personally have been a fan of Studio Ghibli since the English release of Spirited Away 2 years ago, and can't wait to see these movies in English.
Pick ladies and gentle pick men. We've got some news on what's going on with Pikmin 2. Nintendo of Japan has just announced that Pikmin 2 will feature e-reader compatibility. By scanning cards through your e-reader, you'll be able to play 3 all-new Pikmin-inspired puzzle games. Unfortunately, key questions like, will you need a GameCube to access these features? Will they unlock anything in the GameCube version of the game? Or will the cards even be marketed in the US? Sadly remain unanswered. But you can bet, as soon as more is announced, you'll be hearing all about it from us here at ASG.
Star Wars, the greatest sci-fi series, you Star Trek fans can cry now, is officially coming out on DVD. Jim Ward, Vice President of Marketing and Distribution for Lucasfilm, stated, "We know how long fans have waited for this release and how much they are looking forward to it, so everyone has been working overtime to make sure that the Star Wars trilogy on DVD is an awesome experience. All 3 films will be digitally restored by THX to improve the sound and picture quality, and will be available as a collection on September 21st. This surely will be a night to be remembered."
Pull out your Buster Swords and get ready to recount those false memories, as it appears we're hopping right back into the world of Final Fantasy VII. At the Tokyo Game Show last year, we received word of a new installment in the world of FF7, but it seems like we're not just getting our hands on a controller for this one. We're going to be watching it on the big screen. Tetsuya Nomura spoke about the development of the new movie titled Advent Children, and he even spoke about how the team is developing something pretty sneaky for E3. Now, if you didn't catch that last part, showing off a trailer at E3 practically confirms that we're getting a Western release for the film. Now, while we don't have much detail on what to expect from Advent Children, all we can do is sit back and Wait for the E3 trailer.
After the break, we're gonna smash.
And catch 'em all. All systems go. We'll be right back. In this video, Laz is going to break down exactly how Nintendo is screwing over us Pokemon completionists.
As we all know, the Pokemon franchise's catchphrase is gotta catch 'em all. But how are we expected to live up to that when it costs $355 at minimum? Yeah, you heard that right. $355 minimum. As many avid Pokemaniacs found out when Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire released in North America back in March of last year, only 135 of the 386 existing Pocket Monsters were obtainable due to a lack of backwards compatibility with the Game Boy and Game Boy Color Pokemon games, effectively trapping our lovable Kanto and Johto mons in plastic cartridge prisons. We weren't even sure that the older Pokemon were even coded into Ruby and Sapphire, but it has since been shown that they are in fact in the newest generation of games. With the North American releases of Pokemon Colosseum for the GameCube and Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, the updated versions of the original games which are now playable on Game Boy Advance consoles, as well as the recent release of Pokemon Emerald in Japan, we'll have to wait until next year here in the States, it's finally possible once again to catch 'em all. Well, kind of. You see, Lugia isn't obtainable without an event distribution, and that event hasn't made it to the States yet. Ho-Oh is only obtainable in Pokemon Colosseum, after purifying all 48 Shadow Pokemon and then clearing all 100 trainers in Mount Battle. Luckily, Ho-Oh and Lugia aren't required to get the diploma for completing the National Pokedex. Same thing goes for the event-exclusive Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, and Deoxys. Now what was I saying? Right! Anyway, it's finally possible once again to catch 'em all. But at what cost? Because I've run some calculations, and it turns out that if you want to complete the National Pokedex by yourself with as few consoles as possible, you will need 2 Game Boy Advance consoles, which thanks to the recent price drop are only $80 each, as opposed to the previous price of $100 each, a Game Boy Advance link cable for trading, which is about $10, all 5 third-generation Game Boy Advance games, Ruby, Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald, each of which go for between $35 to $40. And finally, most importantly, a whole lot of free time. Because, you see, if you don't want to buy a GameCube and Pokemon Colosseum for an additional combined price of $160, bringing your total up to $515, you'll need to do multiple complete playthroughs of Pokemon Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green, since the roaming legendary beast in Fire Red and Leaf Green depends on the starter Pokemon you chose. In Emerald, things are especially brutal. According to footage from the Japanese version of the game, Professor Birch gives you one of the Johto starters after you complete the Hoenn Pokedex. This means you'd have to complete the Hoenn Pokedex on 3 different Emerald save files, which requires beating the game and catching all the legendary Pokemon. A truly Herculean task to be sure, so I'd suggest getting your friends to play with you. Or start saving up some cash. If you are willing to get Pokemon Colosseum, things get a bit easier, especially when it comes to the Johto starter Pokemon and the legendary beasts, which you can get all in one save file. But if you choose to go this route, it does add that extra $160 to your total, covering the GameCube console, copy of Colosseum, and a GameCube to Game Boy Advance link cable. In my case, I'm going to try to get some friends to play with me and trade me the version exclusives, because I'm so poor I can't even afford to pay attention. All in all, this decision for the games really brought down my opinion of the franchise that I love so much, and I just hope history isn't doomed to repeat itself.
Up next, Eric is making predictions about Super Smash Melee 2.
Hey paisanos, it's been 3 years since Super Smash Bros. Melee dropped and blew everyone's minds, but it's about time for a new entry in the series to come out. I predict it'll probably be out by the end of the year if we keep up the same pattern from Smash 64 to Melee. But with a new game comes a new roster. Today I'll be using my hyper-advanced gamer brain to see the future and tell you exactly what the roster will look like. Starting off with returning characters, the entire roster of Melee is going to show up again. If everyone can come back from 64 to Melee, why not the same for Smash 3? Sure, Dr. Mario and Yink will still be clones, but they never cut someone like Mewtwo. But for the actual newbies, our first character we have is Diddy Kong. Smash could always use more monkey love. It looks like Diddy's going to be a pretty agile fighter with some good aerial movement, thanks to his jetpack, and it looks like he can combine that with his peanut pop gun for a strong zoning game. The stage he comes with is Gangplank Galleon from DKC2. This would add some variety, and Smash doesn't need another DK jungle level. Next up, we have a double franchise pick with Meta Knight and King Dedede. I'll speed through these as both characters pull a lot from Kirby's copy ability moveset, so we know how they're gonna play. How bad could they be to fight? And to keep the ball rolling, we have Wario. Using my hyper advanced gaming future sight, I can tell that when Wario gets into Smash, his moveset will pull from his latest release, Wario Land 4. Wario's style is all about speed and momentum that takes advantage of his attack power, with a bit of mobility to keep foes off guard. Unfortunately, I doubt that WarioWare game that dropped last year is going to do well enough to get any rep at Smash 3. For another Mario villain, we have Bowser Jr. who's going to end up being one of the faster characters in the game. Using my psychic powers, I can see that Jr.'s moveset is going to hinge on disjointed hitbox attacks from his magic paintbrush. But that's not all he's going to have. His side special lets him throw Mario Kart style shells at random, with each color having their own effects. Green just moves wildly, red homes in, and blue homes in and explodes. The little brat can also summon Cataquacks to throw enemies in the air and set them up for combos. The villains just keep rolling in, because now we have Evil Barney from the Metroid franchise, Ridley. Now I don't know much about Metroid, but if there's one thing I do know, is that he's big. So big that playing as him would be like playing a boss character. I imagine it's going to be like fighting Giga Bowser on a smaller scale. I mean, what would Ridley be without his size? So a good choice to have him that big.
Playtime is over, Star Fox.
Next up, we have everyone's favorite furry franchise, Star Fox. Now I can't imagine another clone of Fox in the game. So Wolf, while I didn't get much info for him, he's probably going to have a totally new moveset that represents Star Fox as a series. Now on to the next franchise, we have Pokémon. Pokemon are real easy to predict for Smash, because all I have to do is find the coolest and most popular ones. And it doesn't get cooler than the legendary Deoxys. When it gets in the game, its playstyle will be based around stat boosting, specifically its down B Cosmic Power that gives extra power to its special attacks, and its side B Psycho Boost, which has a lot of damage but drops Deoxys' attacking power. And for our final returning franchise rep, we have Vaati the Wind Mage from the Zelda series. Despite his more stylized, cartoony design, his wind magic would make him the perfect addition to the series. And what other Zelda character would you pick anyways? Skull Kid? Another Link? The future looks bright for the Zelda series in Smash. Now for the newer game representation. We're starting with the hottest RPG on the market right now, Golden Sun. There's no way Isaac wouldn't make an appearance here, and it looks like his moveset is going to rely on his utility spells to do all sorts of nonsense. Stuff like freezing his opponents in time, making platforms for his recovery, and turning intangible. For another new addition, we have Ray from the Custom Robo series. See, Custom Robo may be a little niche, but it makes sense. It's already gotten 3 games and another one coming next year. And for this moveset, it looks like we have a very unique style, a highly defensive short-range zoner. That may sound like a lot of gobbledygook, but it means that Ray is going to be a nightmare in mid-ranges, but less of a threat from far away, with tons of ways to deny projectiles attacks. And for our final first party character, we have the Balloon Fighter from Balloon Fight, but he's not alone as he's using tricks and traps from all sorts of NES games, and is looking to be Smash 3's retro pick. Even his stage is a throwback as it takes place on top of a physical NES. But you heard me right folks, that was the last of the first party characters. We still have third party characters to look at. First off, we have Mega Man. Not that one, or that one, or that one. No, we're getting Mega Man.exe from Mega Man Battle Network. Nintendo and Capcom seem to have a pretty strong relationship, so one of their guys is a sure chance to get in. But classic Mega Man is too old and X is too PlayStation-y. No, we need the new, modern Mega Man, whose games will keep coming out for all time. It also looks like he's going to be a zoner, unsurprisingly. For our second third-party character, we're getting Shai Shenghua from Soul Calibur. Link already made an appearance in Soul Calibur 2, so why can't Smash share the love? And God knows Smash could use more girls and cool fighters with swords. And for our final roster slot, we have 2 characters. That's right, the final character making an appearance in Smash 3 will be Sonic and Tails. They'll work as a joint fighter like the Ice Climbers, where you're controlling Sonic, but Tails is mimicking all of your movements. And while Sonic is good on his own, his specials are crippled if you lose his best buddy. And that's the roster. Come back and rewatch the video when the game comes out 6 months from now so you can see how right I am.
After the break, we become a bunch of ogre achievers. All systems go. We'll be right back.
Hit success Shrek just released a trailer for the sequel, and we're stoked. So we're gonna talk about it. First off, guys, what'd you think of the trailer?
Alright, what's up? I'm here. I want to talk about Shrek. So I really like the trailer. I really like how they're going with the in-laws thing. But honestly, I don't think they're going to stick with that plot too much because I think it's like overdone in the media now.
Yeah.
In-laws, who really cares about in-laws? So they're going to be there for like 5 minutes and then leave. And honestly, I really like, Who needs her stinky parents?
After the plot with, with the marriage plot.
I mean, the original movie had the perfect. I don't see why it needed a sequel.
Because it's the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think it's great, really.
You know how those Disney direct-to-video sequels turn out?
Ooh. Okay, well.
That's a good one.
Wait a second.
Well, I don't understand why Disney has anything to do with Shrek.
Listen up. So, you know how Shrek was a direct response to Disney movies? Like, you know, all it's a direct response.
The fairy tales.
Hey, you're doing your fairy tales? Well, screw you. We're going to do our own thing. Yeah. I think, what if, consider the following.
Ooh.
Shrek 2 is a response to all the direct-to-DVD and VHS sequels.
Ooh.
It's going to be bad on purpose.
That could be interesting.
What if
just a poke fun at it.
What if this is a little crazy? What if like they actually like have like Disney characters in it, but it's not actual Disney characters. It's like the original source media. Yeah, like what if they have Ariel turning into Seafoam from like the Grimm brothers?
Oh yeah. Wait.
I don't think they would do that. That's too like traumatizing for kids. Yeah,
but I think that would make for a great plot line, though.
Yeah. If only.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some ogres in it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think there'll be a couple ogres in it. I don't know how
think
many,
you might be right.
but I think a couple. A couple will be in there.
I think you might be right on the money.
Sammy,
any thoughts on the amount of ogres or other plot lines?
You see, I think they're going to be less ogres. I think Shrek is going to turn human, and he's going to be ugly.
No,
it's going to be the opposite of Fiona in the first movie.
No,
what?
Literally the point of Shrek is like accepting your ogreness, so that's never going to happen.
Wait.
That would be stupid, Sammy.
Okay.
It would go against the original.
What if Shrek was hot? They made him a human.
Whoa! We can't do that.
No.
Are you saying
he's
he's
Shrek?
not already hot?
No.
No. Like.
Maybe
I really don't want to see Shrek as human.
Honestly,
exactly.
I think that Fiona, like the human and like the ogre, all it's gonna get like mix-a-bobbled, and it's actually gonna be Lord Farquaad pretending to be Fiona the whole time.
What if they do a Lord Farquaad?
See, that's the twist. You thought he did.
I think it's going to be Lord Farquaad, but he comes out as Lord Tallquad, and he comes out as like 6'5", and he's not short anymore.
Wait.
I mean, Lord Nearquad.
Wait. What if instead he's voiced by Paul Rudd? I'm just saying. Like, what if he was voiced by Paul Rudd?
What about David Schwimmer? Like. Yeah,
Paul Rudd just kind of appeared in like Friends. David Schwimmer, though.
I mean, Friends is ending, so David really needs some work. So I think he might be.
Yeah, I was
in Shrek too.
I was actually thinking, like, what if instead of focusing on Shrek, it focuses on Donkey and the dragon, like just that whole plot, like that, they.
Then why would it be called Shrek 2?
Yeah.
Because Shrek's just a plot line to build into the donkey.
Of course,
he's a
donkey.
Donkey's
not an ogre. Cam? That was a really good point you just made. Donkey is not an ogre.
Yeah.
But what if he's
but what happens what happens if Donkey becomes an ogre?
Impossible.
Listen,
please.
Listen up. Donkey transformation adventure. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We had Shrek's transformative adventure. He becomes not such a stick in the mud.
He has layers.
And a loner. And Fiona, she transforms into an ogre. Literally. Hers is more of a literal and also accepts herself. Donkey has stayed Donkey this whole time. Donkey transformation.
He's just well, that's because Donkey is the greatest character of all fiction.
But
he is the apex of donkeys.
But,
I mean, yeah, but...
Just a thought, like, what if he becomes a dragon?
But I see where you're going with that, but also the first Shrek was all about accepting who you are. So my theory doesn't make sense. I'm realizing it's not. It's about not changing yourself for love.
He would realize he doesn't want to be an ogre or a dragon and then go back to being a donkey.
Yeah, he becomes a dragon to get with dragon. And then
the
he
dragon,
realizes
his dragon wife is like, I don't want you. I liked you when you were a donkey.
Ooh, speaking of wives, do we think that Shrek and Fiona are still gonna be together after this? Like, do you think
it's the greatest love story ever told?
Well, like the
Of course they are.
transition might. Okay, then counterpoint. Do you think they're gonna have kids?
I think they're gonna have quadruplets.
No.
I think their
I don't
kids.
think they're
I
gonna
think their
have any
kids will be
kids.
really funny, and they'll make like very funny jokes.
I
that,
mean,
like
they're
aren't,
literally
just
just now
fart humor
meeting
and
the
stuff.
in-laws,
Yeah.
and so like I don't
think it'd be
think
kinda cool.
that they're gonna have any kids ever.
I can't see Shrek being a dad personally.
No, me neither.
And
He's like already a dad to Donkey in a way.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want Donkey.
This
Like,
is true.
yeah, for
Why?
reals.
Why no donkey?
Well,
Don't you
remember
remember that?
Donkey was like talking about waffles and stuff, and Shark's like, shut up. So.
But I mean, they're friends now. But like originally, he didn't want
yeah.
Donkey.
Now imagine like baby,
Yeah.
and he's like, ew, won't stop crying.
Babies.
I think
Get out my
there's
swamp.
there's no way that at least one of these things doesn't happen
There's gonna
in
be others.
Shrek 2, the sequel to the greatest movie ever told. After the break, though, Zach and Coleman are comboing through Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. All systems go. We'll be right back.
Up next, Coleman and Zach talk Street Fighter.
Hey everybody, I'm Coleman.
And I'm Zach. Today we're going to be checking out the new Street Fighter Anniversary Collection for the Xbox and PS2.
There's quite a bit to unpack here, so let's start with what comes in. The first game we'll talk about is one that seems to be just another iteration of Street Fighter 2. But this one is actually very unique and introduces a unique spin to the formula. But we should probably provide a little context about the Street Fighter 2 situation. So Street Fighter 2, initially released in 1991 as the World Warrior, grew to such immense popularity that Capcom decided to re-release the game constantly to both tweak the gameplay and add new features.
A year after the World Warrior came the Champion Edition in '92, making the four Shadowloo bosses Balrog, Vega, Sagat, and M. Bison playable for the first time. This also allowed for two players to pick the same character and the character's portraits were changed.
Later in the same year, Hyper Fighting released. This sped up the gameplay along with giving characters some new special moves like Chun-Li's Gekoken and E Honda's Sumo Smash for instance.
The following year in '93 came the biggest revision yet, Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers.
Super Street Fighter 2 has a complete makeover in its graphics, presentation, sound, and gameplay thanks to the new CPS2 engine used compared to the former CPS1. We are also introduced to 4 all-new characters, Fei Long, DJ, T-Hawk, and Cammy.
All of this would have made Super Street Fighter 2 the perfect revision. However, the game was slowed back down to pre-hyper fighting levels.
Yeah, kind of annoying, and I am sure this ended up peeving off some fans. But in the next year in 1994, we got the definitive iteration, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Super Turbo keeps everything from Super and brings back the hyper fighting speeds, adding even more presentation, giving us super combos and the ultimate badass of martial arts, Akuma.
Super Turbo was the last Street Fighter 2 to release in the arcades with these releases. However, even after we got new Street Fighter installments, we still saw Street Fighter 2 coming to home consoles. Ports for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were all over the place. We even got collections of them starting in the late 90s on the PS1 and Sega Saturn.
Heck, just a few years ago we had Super Turbo come to the GBA subtitled Revival with its own bells and whistles.
Fast forward to today, we basically have the ultimate iteration found in this anniversary collection, Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. What makes this iteration of Street Fighter 2 special is that it allows you to pit different versions of characters across all 5 Street Fighter 2 iterations against each other.
For example, you can pit World Warrior Guile against Champion Edition E Honda.
Or Hyper Fighting Blanca against new challengers Vega.
So it isn't exactly a compilation of each separate Street Fighter 2, rather a Street Fighter 2 that takes the roster of each game and sort of sandwiches it all together.
Each variant retains the mechanic that comes from their respective game. For example, pre-Super Turbo variants won't have Super Combo meters.
This also means if a character was particularly cheap in one game, their attributes carry over.
So you can straight up pit an OP Super character against an OP Champion Edition character. New Challenger Sagat versus Champion Edition M. Bison, anyone?
Oh god, the mere thought of that chaos.
Indeed. Now, even though Hyper Street Fighter 2 combines each iteration, the arcade ladder is still Super Turbo's ladder with Super Turbo characters. However, you can select any variant of the character to go through it.
Now, in addition to this groove system, Capcom also added a ton of neat little extras, such as the intro combining each game together, a newly composed soundtrack along with all the CPS 1 and 2 tracks, and a lot more. Hyper Street Fighter 2 is a love letter to all of us that played Street Fighter 2 religiously in the arcades, much like me and Zach.
And that's just half the package. Along with Hyper Street Fighter 2, we have a port of one of the greatest Street Fighter games ever, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike.
Street Fighter 3 on its own is amazing to see, period. Just an absolutely amazing game through and through. With some of the smoothest 2D animation in video game history, very tight and fluid controls, astonishing presentation, the game-changing parries, addictive gameplay, etc., Third Strike is just an absolute marvel in the fighting game genre.
It's honestly great to see Third Strike finally get a good port and just be on consoles with bigger install bases than the Dreamcast and arcade. It underperformed hard, but having it available on modern consoles will give people that missed out on it a chance to play it.
And this is absolutely wonderful to see. We finally have a good port of Third Strike. As mentioned before, there was a port on the Sega Dreamcast, and it was honestly not great. Input delay and poor transitions between fights all over the place. But hey, we wanted to play it that much, so we bared with it.
Yeah, they took it out of the arcade like 2 years ago, and we've just been playing it on the Dreamcast. But the version here in the Anniversary Collection, however, is leagues better.
It is fair to say that Capcom definitely justified Third Strike this time around with the Anniversary Collection. It feels great to play, and the remastered audio makes an already excellent game even better.
Both these games alone make this collection pretty solid. But in addition to these sales, we also have the Street Fighter 2 animated movie included in the game as a bonus.
This also means the movie is finally available on a disc rather than being restricted to VHS. Let me tell you, I love this movie, but busting out the VCR has gotten really inconvenient.
Now you can just pop in this game, select the movie, and relax. The only downside is that it isn't the uncut version, which is completely reasonable for the sake of age rating.
While we're on the topic of caveats, we should probably discuss some fair and constructive criticism. They are mostly minor, but we feel they should be brought up. To start things off, for being titled an Anniversary Collection, there really isn't that much history outside of the games in the movie included.
It's really strange, too, because the Mega Man Anniversary Collection also just came out, and it has a ton of legacy content included with the 10 games featured. We just had a ton of different Mega Man games as well, and the last installment we saw of Street Fighter was actually Third Strike 5 years ago in 1999. Sure, we got EX2 the following year. That was just a spin-off series, which is cool, but a little out of formula with the unappealing 3D aesthetic and the out-of-place, albeit interesting mechanics.
Yeah, Street Fighter's been in a bit of a weird state since the start of this new millennium, and the lack of a robust history feels like Capcom didn't go the extra mile for this franchise that has been laying low for them for a little while now.
What this collection lacks in legacy presentation, it makes up for with the 2 games featured, especially one as unique as Hyper Street Fighter 2 and one as legendary as Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. All in all, Street Fighter Anniversary Collection for the PS2 and Xbox is an absolute must-buy for any Street Fighter fan. We highly recommend it to those that might want to get into the series.
The unique gimmick of Hyper Street Fighter 2 combined with how nicely done this port of Third Strike is, Street Fighter Anniversary Collection is an excellent Street Fighter package for playing Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3.
It may not have the first Street Fighter or any Street Fighter Alpha titles, but the games featured with the addition of the Street Fighter 2 animated movie still make it a great collection.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
Well, that's been the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. Thanks for watching.
We want Kingdom Hearts 2 and we want it now! We'll get into specifics after the break. All systems go. We'll be right back.
Hey Paisanos, welcome back to Guppy Tank, the game show that is totally unique and will never be done by anyone else. For those who haven't watched the game before, I'm always taller than Cam. This game is all about making shit up. Our contestants make up a picture of something while we, the judges, judge them and decide whose idea should become reality. For this round, the goal is to make a hypothetical world for the next Kingdom Hearts game, the Disney and Squeenix crossover RPG, which should be getting announced any day now. All right. So we have contestants got online. It's me, Eric, Cameron,
Coleman,
And it's me, Jessica. You know me.
All right. Now the guppies are going to pitch their ideas, and our first contestant is Wyatt. Last,
Hello, Wyatt.
Hello, Wyatt.
It is I,
last
Wyatt,
game's winner.
the Seeker of Darkness. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I'm 2 months old today, and I'm really happy I've come this far, and I'm hoping to continue on.
Happy birthday.
My
Happy birthday to Joe's mom.
my dream planet for Kingdom Hearts 2 is from the movie Holes.
I love that movie.
Unfortunately, I was not alive when it came out, and I haven't seen it. But it is my favorite Disney movie, and it is my favorite Disney World. I'm a very big fan of
As it should be.
of Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
I think that he and Sora would get along really well together. From the plot synopsis, apparently there's some sort of children's labor camp involved, and I don't think that Sora would stand for that at all. So I think that he's got some business there. I don't know what the
Have
name
you
of
not
this-
seen the movie?
No.
Yeah.
I wasn't born.
What do you mean? It just came out.
I'm 2 months old. It came out last year.
It's not an excuse.
Yeah,
I
it
wasn't
just
born
came
when
out.
Scarface came out.
Oh,
Exactly.
All right, fine. Well, I'll get on it right after it's a world in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, chop chop.
I don't know what the name of this kid is, but I think he would get along great with Donald.
His name is Zero.
His name is Zero.
His
His name is Zero, and he's played by Corbin
We
Bleu.
can't
His name
stick
is
around
Zero?
on how
His
bad
name
his
is
knowledge
Zero.
is
Zero.
of the movie. Are you even fighting Heartless in this world, or is this like a
No,
video game
absolutely,
thing?
you're fighting Heartless in this world. I mean, look at Shia LaBeouf. That's
Not his name.
There's darkness in there. There's darkness in that. In
We
those
need to
eyes.
next contestant.
yeah.
Get him
Wow.
out of here.
All right, fine.
Stop
Get
saying
him out of here.
beef.
Yeah, it's
it's
always
not
the two-
Get
beef.
him out. Get him out.
We're about to have beef.
Disrespect my movie.
All right, hello. Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
I hope you watched whatever you want to combine it with.
I did. It was a classic that's about 2 years old. Unfortunately, got beaten by Spirited Away in
You're
regards to
automatically
awards.
getting third,
It
so
is-
like.
We got whatever the graphic will show up. I don't know when that's gonna show up. There we go. Lilo and Stitch.
Ooh.
I thought was gonna be a fun one. Essentially, thematically, it's got like themes of family, which Sora has his own family in Riku and Kairi. I think Stitch in particular, I can't. There we go. You can kind of see him there. He kind of has a design that kind of fits the vibe in the universe, and I think he would work as like a great party member. I even wrote like a little like how I could see the world going, like story-wise, real quick. If I'm allowed to present that.
We could speed through it, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, crash on the planet. We have Lilo looking for her dog, which ends up being Stitch. Go figure. They go rescue Stitch from the woods, and then there's a bunch of Heartless that show up. Bum 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 bum. And then they go and do some hijinks with them together for a while, and then eventually most of the movie will proceed kind of normal-ish, and then eventually with Sora, Donald, Goofy there. Eventually we'll get to a point where Gontu is revealed to be using the Heartless, and is the one sending the Heartless in an effort to capture Stitch. And we also get the reveal that Dr. Jumba was the illegal experimentation was with the Heartless, and that's how Stitch was created as part Heartless.
That is so good.
I love the combination of original story and like movie. That's
Yeah.
You really
strong.
Beautiful.
You really put
Beautiful.
research into
Put
that.
your foot in that one. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Plus, I love found family.
All right, I think we're all pretty satisfied with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
For our next contestant, will please come up. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you. Thank you, Austin. You did great.
Shout out to Steve.
Oh.
Well.
The coolest Guppy Tank 1v1 ever.
That's all
It
right
turned
because the
We got a lot of time for deliberation. All
yeah,
right.
let's deliberate.
Let's see here.
Do
So
we think the person who, crafted a whole storyline and how the whole thing would play out, and like just really dove into the world of this new game, or the person who hasn't seen the source material and
Once you put it that way,
refuses to pronounce the name of the lead actor
It's
correctly,
not beef.
doesn't even know
It's not beef.
one of the other characters' names.
It's not.
But I really like Holes.
The thing is I really like Holes, but I don't trust Wyatt's adaptation of Holes at all.
But watching Sora in Holes will be very
It would
fun.
be fun.
it honestly would be.
It would be fun, but also, come on.
I just don't think it's likely Lilo and Stitch would show up in Kingdom Hearts.
I mean,
so
no, but still.
I guess as a group, you guys seem to be partial to Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch.
So Austin is the winner. All right, buddy. That's
Congrats,
all for this
Austin.
episode of ASG. Check us out on MySpace and our new Facebook, the Facebook page.
Heck yeah.
Then don't forget to tune in next week, which will be March of 2004, not March of 2024, because that would be so weird.
Happy birthday, Joe's mom.
Happy birthday, Joe's mom.
Happy birthday, Joe's mom.